The secret chambers of Vatican City. What if I told you that beneath the sacred stones of Vatican City lie secrets so profound they could rewrite history as we know it? For centuries, hidden chambers have guarded artifacts and documents that the world has never seen. A silence deeper than prayer, locked away from kings, scholars, and the faithful alike. The Vatican, the smallest country in the world, yet one of the most powerful. Barely half a square kilometer in size, yet its influence spans continents, cultures, and centuries. More than 1 billion people look to this place as the beating heart of Catholic faith. But behind its gilded altars and marble halls lies another story, one not seen by pilgrims or even most priests. A story of secrets buried in stone, of knowledge hidden in shadow. Imagine walking through the crowded square of St. Peter's Basilica. The sun glints off Michelangelo's dome. Pilgrims from across the globe crane their necks to marvel at its beauty. Tourists snap photographs of Bernini's colonnades. All eyes are fixed on what is visible, grand, and sacred. But what if beneath your very feet stretched a labyrinth of forgotten rooms? Hidden corridors sealed for centuries? Vaults filled with texts that could challenge what we think we know about history itself? This is not just speculation. Time and again, history has shown us glimpses of what lies below. The necropolis under St. Peter's Basilica, uncovered in the 20th century, revealed entire Roman streets, tombs, and ancient artifacts sealed away for 2,000 years. What other chambers might still sleep beneath the stones of this city-state? For centuries, whispers have circulated. Whispers of sealed doors, bricked-up passages, and forbidden archives. Tales of ancient Roman palaces lying beneath the Vatican's foundations. Rumors of texts too dangerous to reveal. Could these be dismissed as legend? Or are they echoes of truths too unsettling to bring into the light? The Vatican is a paradox, a place of worship and mystery, a symbol of both openness and secrecy. While the faithful gather in St. Peter's Square, deep below lie spaces few have entered, and even fewer have spoken about. Tonight we open the vault, not with keys or picks, but with questions. Questions that echo through time. What lies beneath the stones of Vatican City? What knowledge has been hidden? And why? Pause, softer tone. This is not a tale of fantasy. This is history, documented, measured, yet concealed. Every chapter of our journey will blend what is known with what is whispered, what is proven with what is possible. Together they form a picture of the Vatican not just as a holy city, but as a guardian of secrets so profound they may never be fully revealed. Over the next hours we will walk through shadows of history. We will enter the whispers of the walls. We will descend into the hidden architecture of one of the most mysterious places on earth. We will step into the Vatican's archives, where knowledge lies chained in silence. We will uncover real expeditions, discoveries, and controversies that hint at far deeper mysteries yet to be unearthed. And perhaps we will glimpse what the Vatican's secret chambers could truly hold. Prepare to journey into the unseen, to walk corridors where time stands still, to open doors that history has kept locked, because the greatest mysteries of the Vatican are not found in plain sight. They are hidden beneath its stones, waiting. This is the Secret Chambers of Vatican City. Chapter 1. the whispers of the walls, legends and lore. To uncover the secrets of the Vatican, we must begin with whispers, whispers carried through stone, through centuries, through the memories of those who dared to wonder what lay beyond the walls. The story begins not in the Vatican as we know it, but in ancient Rome, a city of emperors and gods, of persecution and secrecy. In the 1st century, Christians were a hunted people. Their gatherings were illegal, their leaders imprisoned, their faith condemned as subversive. And yet, against this backdrop of fire and fear, Christianity grew. It grew in hidden places, in shadows, in underground chambers carved deep beneath the earth. These were the catacombs of Rome. Stretching for miles beneath the city, the catacombs became not only burial grounds, but sanctuaries of faith. By torchlight, worshippers prayed among the tombs of martyrs. Here, secrecy meant survival. And here, a pattern was set, the idea that what is sacred may need to be hidden, preserved away from the gaze of those who would destroy it. Some believe this culture of secrecy formed the foundation of what would later become the Vatican's hidden chambers. Not simply rooms for storage, but sanctuaries for the most precious and dangerous truths. By the year 64 AD, under Emperor Nero, Christians faced their most brutal trial. Following the Great Fire of Rome, Nero blamed the Christians, unleashing a wave of executions. Tradition holds that the Apostle Peter himself was crucified in this persecution, near the site where St. Peter's Basilica stands today. Beneath the basilica, legend says his grave became the focal point for the faithful. But where there is faith, there is also fear. What relics, what writings might have been hidden away in those early days, concealed from destruction, sealed into stone? Centuries later, when Constantine legalized Christianity, the Church rose from the shadows into the light. The grand basilicas began to rise. The Vatican Hill, once a place of Roman circuses and burial grounds, was transformed into a center of worship. But with this new visibility came a new challenge. How does a faith preserve its deepest mysteries once the world's eyes are upon it? Whispers speak of hidden corridors beneath the basilicas, secret crypts where the remains of martyrs and apostles were interred. Some accounts tell of relics spirited away under cover of night, hidden in chambers that even emperors could not enter. Over time, these whispers became woven into the very identity of the Vatican, a place not only of open devotion, but of closed doors. Pause for effect. Legends tell of tunnels connecting the Vatican to ancient Rome, a hidden network that could grant escape in times of danger or provide secret passage for treasures too valuable to expose. Some even claim these tunnels stretched as far as Nero's Golden House, the sprawling palace built after the fire. While no proof has surfaced, architectural anomalies hint that something may indeed lie beneath the surface. In the Middle Ages, chroniclers wrote of blocked-off sections of the Vatican, walls that seemed to serve no purpose, sealed staircases that ended abruptly. Were these mere construction quirks or deliberate attempts to hide something? Some claimed the Vatican sat atop ancient Roman temples, their ruins buried but never fully destroyed. Others spoke of pagan treasures confiscated by the early church, hidden rather than destroyed so that their power might never tempt the faithful. The Vatican has always been a fortress of faith, but also of silence. Stories passed from generation to generation tell of rooms filled with forbidden texts, writings deemed heretical and too dangerous for the public. Some whisper of gospels left out of the Bible, preserved in secret, so their words would never vanish completely. Others speak of relics beyond imagination, the remains of saints, objects tied to Christ himself, or even treasures seized in conquest. But are these only legends? Or are they echoes of something real? Consider this. Every great civilization has concealed its treasures. The Egyptians sealed pharaohs in tombs lined with riches. The Mayans hid sacred writings from Spanish conquerors. Even modern nations guard state secrets in vaults and archives. Why should the Vatican, a city of both spiritual and political power, be any different? The walls themselves whisper. In certain areas of Vatican City, architectural blueprints do not align with the physical structures. Corridors appear to lead nowhere. Chambers are recorded, then vanish from later maps. Could this be simple oversight or intentional concealment? Eyewitnesses, scholars, workers, even clergy have occasionally hinted at discoveries they cannot explain. A bricked-up passage behind an altar, a stairway that descends into darkness before abruptly ending at a sealed door. Accounts dismissed as exaggeration, yet persistent enough to keep the whispers alive. Pause, lowering tone. And so the question remains, if the Vatican holds such chambers, what do they contain? Knowledge too disruptive to faith? Relics too powerful to expose? Or is the truth even stranger, a collection of humanity's most profound secrets, hidden not for destruction, but for safekeeping? As we stand at the threshold of this mystery, we must remember, history is often written by what we are allowed to see. But sometimes the truth lies in what is deliberately kept from us. This is the beginning of our journey. The whispers of the walls call us deeper, urging us to listen, to question, to search. For if the walls of the Vatican could speak, what stories would they tell? Chapter 2. The Vatican's Hidden Architecture. To understand the secrets of the Vatican, we must turn to the stones themselves, to the structures that rise above ground, and the silent foundations that lie beneath. For within the Vatican's architecture are puzzles, anomalies, and discoveries that hint at a hidden world far larger than what visitors are ever permitted to see. From the outside, the Vatican appears as a collection of sacred buildings: St. Peter's Basilica, the Apostolic Palace, the Sistine Chapel. But beneath these marvels lies a complex of corridors, tombs, chambers, and layers of history, stretching back thousands of years. Each renovation, each excavation reveals traces of forgotten eras. And with every discovery comes a deeper question: how much more remains concealed? Pause. The most famous example is the Vatican necropolis, discovered in the mid-20th century during excavations under St. Peter's Basilica. Beneath the grand marble altar, archaeologists uncovered entire streets of a Roman city of the dead, mausoleums, frescoes, sarcophagi, some dating back to the first centuries of Christianity. For nearly 2,000 years, these tombs had been sealed, entombed beneath layers of church construction. Their rediscovery shocked the world, proving that vast hidden realms could indeed lie under the Vatican, forgotten by time. Among these tombs was what many believe to be the resting place of St. Peter himself. The bones found there sparked controversy, debate, and devotion. But their discovery raised another, more haunting question. If one necropolis could sleep undisturbed for so long, what else might remain buried under the Vatican? Architectural anomalies suggest answers. Blueprints of Vatican structures preserved through centuries often show inconsistencies. Staircases that appear on one draft disappear in another. Walls are built where corridors should continue. Some doors lead into sealed stone with no explanation. In some cases, workmen during renovations have stumbled upon bricked-up passageways, leading nowhere, their original purpose forgotten or deliberately erased. These anomalies are not isolated. Scholars studying the Vatican's layered history note that it stands atop ancient Roman foundations. Before it was the seat of Christianity, this hill was home to temples, gardens, and even the Circus of Nero, where tradition holds Peter was martyred. Beneath layers of basilicas and palaces may still lie ruins of Rome itself, pagan temples, imperial structures, and who knows what else, sealed beneath the marble floors. Imagine standing inside St. Peter's Basilica. Beneath the golden mosaics and towering dome, the floor beneath your feet may conceal rooms never opened in centuries, chambers walled off during construction, tunnels leading to forgotten ruins. Every renovation throughout history, from Constantine's Basilica to the Renaissance masterpiece we see today, built over the past, burying layer upon layer of history. In the 1930s and 40s, during Pope Pius XII's excavations, workers unearthed entire hidden sections under the basilica. Some were so fragile they had to be resealed. Others were deemed too dangerous for the public to view. What has not been shown, what remains sealed, is known only to the Vatican's inner circles. There are rumors, persistent, though unproven, of tunnels stretching outward from the Vatican. Some believe they connect to ancient Roman catacombs, or even extend to the Lateran Palace, once the papal residence. A few accounts speak of escape routes designed to protect popes in times of siege. Others claim entire vaults exist below ground, deliberately omitted from public records. The architecture itself hints at careful design for secrecy. Renaissance architects like Bramante and Michelangelo were not only builders, but masters of symbolism. Some researchers suggest that hidden rooms were deliberately planned, concealed behind false walls or beneath foundations, intended as sanctuaries for the most precious relics or documents. Consider this. When St. Peter's Basilica was constructed, hundreds of tons of marble, stone, and relics were moved. Ancient Roman columns were repurposed, statues buried, artifacts entombed within the foundations. How many treasures lie hidden, not lost, but deliberately walled away? Modern archaeological tools raise the stakes further. Ground-penetrating radar and seismic scanning have revealed voids beneath Vatican structures. Not all of these voids have been investigated. Some are written off as natural cavities, others as architectural quirks. But what if they are sealed chambers, untouched since antiquity? The Vatican is not a single building, but a city of layers. Each stone hides another, each chamber another story. Beneath the frescoes of Michelangelo, beneath the altars where millions worship, lies a hidden architecture, one that may hold the keys to mysteries untold. What has already been discovered proves that the Vatican conceals more than it reveals. Necropolises, sealed doors, unexplained corridors, each a fragment of a larger, unseen design. And so the question grows louder. Are these hidden spaces merely forgotten remnants of history, or intentional vaults designed to guard humanity's most profound secrets? To find the answer, we must move beyond the walls, into the archives. Chapter 3: The Age of Shadows, Medieval Mysteries and Vatican Secrets. As the centuries passed, the Vatican became more than a religious center. It became a fortress of influence. By the Middle Ages, the Church was no longer the persecuted faith of the catacombs. It had risen to power, shaping kings, crowning emperors, and defining the destiny of Europe itself. But with power came intrigue, and with intrigue came secrecy. The medieval Vatican was not only a holy city, but a stronghold. Its walls expanded, its halls filled with treasures gathered from across Christendom. Pilgrims streamed from every corner of Europe, bringing offerings to St. Peter's tomb. Yet while the faithful saw grandeur, those behind the walls guarded something else: documents, relics, and knowledge deemed too dangerous to release. It was during this age that whispers grew louder of forbidden texts, locked away from the eyes of the world. The Catholic Church declared itself the guardian of truth, the arbiter of what knowledge could be shared and what knowledge must be suppressed. Texts considered heretical, writings from early Christian sects, alternative gospels, even philosophical works from the ancient world, were said to be confiscated and hidden deep within the Vatican's chambers. Many accounts point to the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, where the canon of the Bible was formally established. What of the Gospels excluded? Writings attributed to Mary Magdalene, Thomas, or Judas. Some scholars believe that copies of these texts were preserved, not destroyed, locked away where only the highest clerics could access them. In the Middle Ages, those whispers resurfaced, that the Vatican's underground vaults contained truth capable of rewriting Christianity itself. But it was not only sacred writings that the Vatican concealed. Consider the treasures seized during the Crusades. When knights of Christendom returned from the Holy Land, they brought relics said to hold miraculous power, fragments of the true cross, the spear of Longinus, the shroud of Turin. Not all of these relics were displayed. Some disappeared into the guarded heart of the Vatican. There are also accounts of strange artifacts of non-Christian origin making their way into papal collections. Ancient Egyptian papyri, Babylonian tablets, statues of forgotten gods. Were these preserved out of scholarly interest, or hidden away so their influence could not spread? Chroniclers describe priests escorting carts into the city at night, the contents covered, never again seen by the public. Then came the Inquisition. From the 12th century onward, the Vatican authorized tribunals to root out heresy. Libraries were burned, thinkers silenced. But were all forbidden works truly destroyed? Or were some confiscated and locked away? Some historians suggest that manuscripts deemed too dangerous, books on alchemy, astrology, and forbidden sciences were secretly preserved, studied in private by the Church even as their public use was condemned. The idea of knowledge reserved only for the few became central to the Vatican's shadowy reputation. It was also in this period that legends began of secret rooms beneath the apostolic palace. Monks whispered of bricked corridors leading to chambers lit only by oil lamps, where scrolls older than Christianity itself rested in silence. Rumors spread that even the Templars, the warrior monks of the Crusades, entrusted certain treasures to the Church for safekeeping. Consider the most enduring legend that the Vatican holds documents proving the location of the Holy Grail. Whether a chalice, a relic, or a symbol of divine knowledge, the Grail was said to vanish after the Crusades. Some claimed it was hidden in far-off lands. Others, however, pointed directly to the Vatican, its existence too explosive to reveal, its presence too sacred to destroy. But perhaps the most chilling whispers of the medieval era involve forbidden knowledge about the heavens themselves. Manuscripts from Arabic scholars brought back through Spain and Sicily contained advanced astronomy, mathematics, and medicine. Did the Church embrace this knowledge or conceal it, fearing it contradicted doctrine? By the 14th century, when plague ravaged Europe, questions rose. Had the Church hidden cures or knowledge that might have saved millions? The silence of the Vatican only deepened the mystery. And yet, history shows us a pattern. Every empire, every power, hoards secrets. The Vatican was no exception. In the Middle Ages, while the faithful knelt in the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica, beneath their feet may have lain chambers filled with hidden relics, sealed manuscripts, and treasures of the ancient world. Eyewitness accounts, though rare, add fuel to the fire. A monk in the 12th century wrote of descending into a chamber where the air was heavy and the walls lined with scrolls too fragile to touch. A Renaissance traveler later claimed that certain halls of the Vatican were older than Rome itself, carved from stone no man now remembers. Were these exaggerations, or glimpses into hidden truths? The medieval era transformed the Vatican from a fortress of faith into a fortress of silence. Every sealed chamber, every bricked-up door, became a question. What was hidden and why? And so, as we move deeper into this investigation, we must ask, were the Middle Ages a time of darkness, or a time when light itself was locked away beneath stone? This is the age of shadows, and its secrets remain buried still. Chapter 4. Renaissance Revelations, Secrets in the Age of Light. The Renaissance was a time of light, of art, knowledge, and discovery. Europe awoke from the long shadows of the Middle Ages, and with the dawn came an explosion of creativity. The Vatican stood at the very heart of this rebirth, its walls adorned by Michelangelo's brush, its vaults filled with the manuscripts of scholars, its plazas echoing with the voices of pilgrims. And yet, as the Vatican embraced the light of the Renaissance, it also deepened its shadows. For while the world outside sought knowledge, invention, and exploration, behind Vatican walls, secrets multiplied. It was during this period that the Vatican archives began to take form, not as the open repository of knowledge that scholars know today, but as a forbidden treasury of documents. Here, the Church preserved papal letters, state treaties, and chronicles of history. But also, according to rumor, texts considered too dangerous for the outside world. Records of heresies, trial transcripts from the Inquisition, even manuscripts from pagan antiquity. The archives grew, brick by brick, as a fortress of paper. By the 16th century, whispers claimed they held scrolls dating back to the early Church, locked behind doors that few would ever open. To this day, only a fraction of these documents are available to scholars. What else rests there, untouched for centuries? The Renaissance was also the age of discovery. Columbus sailed west. Magellan circled the globe. Copernicus placed the sun at the center of the cosmos. These revelations shook the foundations of human understanding. And yet, each of these discoveries passed through the Vatican's gaze. Consider Copernicus. His theory of a heliocentric universe was published in 1543, but only after decades of hesitation. Did the Vatican already know of these ideas, perhaps through manuscripts preserved in its secret chambers, drawn from Arabic, Greek, or even older sources? Some argue that the Church delayed such knowledge, keeping it hidden until it could no longer be denied. The Renaissance also brought the rise of secret societies. The Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, and others claimed access to ancient wisdom, preserved through hidden channels. Some whispers suggested that the Vatican itself housed relics or writings connected to these groups, and that clandestine meetings were held in sealed-off rooms beneath its palaces. One persistent rumor involves the Sibylline books, ancient Roman prophecies, supposedly destroyed long before the rise of Christianity. Yet some chroniclers hinted that fragments of these texts survived, hidden by the early Church, and resurfaced during the Renaissance. Did the Vatican possess knowledge of the future, predictions too unsettling to reveal? It was also in this era that tales emerged of the Vatican's involvement in the great artistic projects of the time. Michelangelo, Raphael, Bramante, these men created masterpieces within the Vatican's walls. But did their works conceal hidden messages? Some believe the frescoes of the Sistine Chapel encode symbols pointing to forbidden knowledge, anatomical secrets, pagan myths, even astronomical diagrams. If true, then art itself became a canvas for the secrets the Church could not openly endorse. But perhaps the most dramatic whispers of the Renaissance involve the Index of Forbidden Books, first published in 1559. This was no mere list of dangerous texts. It was a declaration of control over human thought. Works of philosophy, science, and literature were banned, their public circulation forbidden. Yet many of these books did not vanish. Scholars believe copies were confiscated, locked away in the Vatican itself. What knowledge rests in those pages? Did the Church conceal writings on medicine that challenged superstition? Did it hide philosophies that threatened papal power? To this day, the Index remains a symbol of the Vatican's power to decide what humanity could and could not know. And still, the Renaissance Vatican was not merely a suppressor of knowledge. It was also a collector. Ambassadors from every kingdom sent gifts to the Pope. Relics, manuscripts, maps of the New World. The Vatican became not just a holy city, but a global hub of information. Some claim that the first accurate maps of the Americas, even of lands not yet officially discovered, were preserved in papal chambers long before explorers returned with proof. Others whisper of stranger things still. Relics brought from the East, bones said to be of giants, preserved fragments of ancient machinery, even artifacts whose origin remains unknown. Were these the fantastical exaggerations of pilgrims, or fragments of reality hidden in chambers the public would never see? The Renaissance gave the world light, but within the Vatican shadows lengthened. The more knowledge humanity uncovered, the more determined the Church became to guard its deepest mysteries. And so the age of revelations became also the age of concealment. For every masterpiece displayed, there was a secret hidden. For every truth proclaimed, another was locked away. The Renaissance transformed the Vatican into what it remains to this day, not only the beating heart of faith, but the guardian of secrets that may never see the light of day. This was the Renaissance, a time of brilliance, a time of concealment, a time when the Vatican's walls became as much a vault as a sanctuary. Chapter 5. The Age of Discovery and Suppression. Guardians of Knowledge, Keepers of Secrets. The 5th, 10th, and 16th centuries were centuries of sails and stars. The world was no longer confined to the Mediterranean. Ships set forth across oceans, charting coastlines unseen by European eyes. Empires rose, colonies were founded, and knowledge of the earth expanded at a staggering pace. But as the map of the world grew, so too did the Vatican's shadow. For every discovery there was a decision. What knowledge should be shared, and what should be hidden? The age of discovery was not just about lands and oceans. It was about power, the power to define reality. And the Vatican, seated at the crossroads of faith and politics, stood as both arbiter and gatekeeper. Consider the Treaty of Tordesillas, signed in 1494. It was the Vatican itself, through Pope Alexander VI, that drew the line dividing the New World between Spain and Portugal. This was not mere diplomacy. It was a proclamation that the authority to divide continents lay in Rome. But what knowledge guided that decision? Some historians argue the Vatican possessed maps more accurate than any known at the time, charts carried by explorers, gifted by ambassadors, or perhaps preserved from far older traditions. Rumors suggest that certain maps housed in the Vatican archives showed the coastlines of the Americas before Columbus ever set sail. A bold claim, and yet fragments of such maps, like the enigmatic Piri Reis map, continue to raise questions. The Age of Discovery also brought contact with ancient civilizations. The Spanish returned from the Americas with gold, with relics, and with manuscripts from the Aztec and Maya. Many of these writings were destroyed in the fires of conquest, but some, a precious few, were reportedly sent to the Vatican. What knowledge might those codices have contained? Records of astronomy? Medicines unknown to Europe? Accounts of a history stretching back farther than the old world imagined? And from Africa and the East came other treasures, scrolls of Arabic scholars, records of lost libraries, artifacts carried along the Silk Road. Some claim the Vatican's secret chambers became a vault not only for Christian relics, but for the wisdom of the entire world. But with discovery came suppression. The Inquisition, already centuries old, reached its height in this era. Heresy was not only a spiritual crime, it was a threat to the unity of Christendom. Men like Giordano Bruno, who dared to speak of infinite worlds and countless stars, paid with their lives. Galileo Galilei, though spared execution, was silenced under house arrest. Their writings? Many believe copies were seized and stored away in the Vatican itself. If so, then even as the world burned their words, the Vatican preserved them, not for public eyes, but perhaps for a future time when they could be controlled, explained, or quietly forgotten. It is here that we must ask a haunting question. Did the Vatican's hidden chambers serve not only to preserve faith, but to control the pace of knowledge itself? The voyages of the Portuguese brought them to India, to China, to Japan. Jesuit missionaries carried with them both the cross and the quill. They recorded languages, copied maps, and sent reports back to Rome. The Vatican became a silent collector of global intelligence. Some scholars suggest that these reports, many never published, remain locked in archives, holding first-hand accounts of civilizations at their height. Imagine what lies within, descriptions of the forbidden city of China at a time when few Europeans had seen it, detailed records of Aztec rituals before their temples were torn down, botanical samples from the Amazon pressed into parchment centuries before modern science rediscovered them. Yet perhaps the most unsettling rumors from this era concern relics, artifacts said to challenge the very narrative of history. Some whisper of strange items sent from the New World, stones carved with unfamiliar symbols, bones of unusual size, objects of unknown metal. Did conquistadors deliver to the Vatican relics that hinted at civilizations far older or stranger than the chronicles allowed? If so, were they hidden to protect faith or to protect power? The age of discovery was a double-edged sword. On one side, humanity gained the world. On the other, knowledge was bound, filtered, and controlled. For every book burned in public squares, another may have been carried into the shadows of Vatican vaults. So the Vatican's role in this era was not only as witness to discovery, but as custodian of secrets gathered from every corner of the earth, sealed behind its walls. And once more we are left to wonder, what truths of the world remain hidden, not because they were lost, but because they were never meant to be found? Chapter 6. The Unseen Legacy. What these chambers could hold. For centuries the Vatican has stood as both a beacon of faith and a fortress of secrets. We have followed whispers through catacombs, sifted through legends of hidden tunnels, and traced the growth of archives into a vast treasury of documents. We have seen knowledge gathered, suppressed, preserved, and yet we still stand before the greatest question of all. What lies within the Vatican's most secret chambers? The truth is that much of what we imagine is speculation, a tapestry woven from fragments of fact and centuries of rumor. But history teaches us this: where there are sealed doors, there are reasons. And those reasons may hold the power to shake the very foundations of our understanding. Music shifts, more contemplative. Let us begin with the most enduring whispers, the lost Gospels. We know beyond doubt that in the early centuries of Christianity, many writings circulated among believers. Some, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, became canon. Others were branded heresy. The Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Judas. Fragments of these texts have surfaced in the deserts of Egypt, in libraries long forgotten. But could more complete versions, perhaps dozens of unknown writings, rest within Vatican vaults? If such texts exist, they may tell stories of Christ and his disciples that differ from the familiar narrative. They might illuminate debates within the early church, or offer teachings that challenge doctrines shaped over centuries. To reveal them would be to rewrite Scripture itself, a prospect both exhilarating and dangerous. Then there are the relics. Across history, relics have been objects of faith, power, and controversy. The nails of the crucifixion, fragments of the true cross, the spear said to have pierced Christ's side, all are claimed by churches across Europe. Yet some scholars argue that the Vatican holds the most precious of these, hidden to prevent theft, desecration, or disputes over authenticity. But what if there are relics the world has never seen? Some legends speak of the Ark of the Covenant, said to have vanished from Jerusalem centuries before Christ. Could it have been transported through conquest and secrecy into Vatican protection? Others whisper of artifacts from pre-Christian traditions, items seized from pagan temples, preserved not out of reverence, but as a warning of the powers once worshipped. And then, stranger still, are the rumors of forbidden knowledge, documents that could alter our understanding of history itself. Reports of ancient civilizations preserved in manuscripts, accounts of advanced medicine, of lost technologies, of forgotten empires. Some say the Vatican guards records of encounters between the Church and phenomena it could not explain, visions, prophecies, even contact with forces beyond our comprehension. Skeptical? Perhaps. And yet, history provides precedent. The Library of Alexandria once housed texts from across the known world: mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy. Most were lost in fire. But what if fragments survived, carried to Rome, copied, and hidden? Could the Vatican's chambers be the last refuge of humanity's first great library? But not all secrets are ancient. Some may be modern, records of wars, treaties, and negotiations hidden from public eyes. The Vatican has long been a silent observer of global events. During World War II, reports suggest it kept confidential files on governments' resistance. Of course, not all hidden knowledge need be sinister. Some believe the Vatican preserves wonders, not threats, texts that could enrich our world rather than destabilize it. Imagine undiscovered works of classical philosophers preserved in pristine condition, or medical treatises from antiquity that describe plants, cures, and techniques lost to time. Imagine if the answers to diseases that still plague us were pressed between pages sealed centuries ago. And yet the greatest mystery may not be any single text or relic. It may be the decision itself, the choice to hide rather than reveal. What does it say about humanity, about power, about faith, that knowledge has been guarded in silence for generations? The Vatican's unseen chambers remain locked, and perhaps they always will. But their legacy is undeniable. They remind us that history is not only what is written, but also what is withheld. That faith is not only what is preached, but what is preserved in silence. That power lies not only in revelation, but in concealment. And so we are left with a haunting thought. The greatest treasures of humanity may already be found, but hidden just beyond our reach. Chapter 7. The Final Revelation. Echoes of secrets, shadows. We have walked through centuries of history, through whispers of stone and shadow. We have peered into the catacombs, imagined the hidden chambers beneath basilicas, traced the growth of archives that stretch farther than the eye can see. We have stood at the crossroads of discovery and suppression, light and darkness, revelation and concealment. And yet, at the end of this journey, one truth rises above all. The Vatican remains a fortress of silence. Its greatest mysteries are not found in what we know, but in what we are not permitted to see. The Vatican is not merely a city-state. It is an idea, a symbol of continuity that has outlasted empires, wars, revolutions. Beneath its sacred stones lie the memories of humanity, triumphs and failures, faith and fear, knowledge and suppression. If these chambers were opened, what might they reveal? Could they confirm the faith of billions, or shake its foundations to the core? Could they provide knowledge to heal, to enlighten, to liberate? Or would they release truths too powerful, too disruptive for humanity to bear? Throughout history, secrecy has been a double-edged sword. It has preserved what might have been lost, but it has also denied us truths that could have transformed our world. The Vatican's hidden chambers stand as a monument to this paradox, the eternal tension between the sacred and the forbidden, between light and shadow. And yet, perhaps the greatest revelation is not in what lies behind sealed doors, but in the questions they inspire. For in asking and wondering and seeking, we ourselves become part of the mystery. The Vatican's chambers may never open. The documents may never be read. The relics may never be revealed. But the very possibility that they exist, that somewhere in the heart of Rome lies a vault of humanity's deepest secrets, ensures that the mystery endures. So we are left with a choice: to accept the silence, or to continue asking the questions that have echoed through centuries. Because history is not only what is written, it is also what is hidden. And sometimes the greatest truths are not lost, they are locked away, waiting for those bold enough to search. This is the unseen legacy of the Vatican, a story without end, a mystery without resolution, a chamber whose key may never be found. But as long as there are whispers in the walls, the world will keep listening,